Welcome back to Is It Worth It Reviews. I'm Stojanovic, and today we are going to talk about network switch from Gustard. Yes, this is an audiophile network switch, and if that triggers you in any way, please feel free to leave this video and watch something else. It's really that simple. But if you're okay with this topic, please stay while we are trying to figure out, is Gustard N18 Pro worth your consideration? So this is the Gustard N18 Pro in silver version. There is a black one too, and there is also a non-pro version. Difference besides pricing, this one is $520 or $30 US, something like that, while non-pro version is $390 something. I'll put that on the screen. The difference is in their connectivity. Now, if we take a look at the back of N18 Pro version, you can see that there is one Ethernet input, and then we have a section of 4 Ethernet output ports. Also, there is an external clock input and one optical input. Whereas with non-pro version, instead of 4 Ethernet port outputs, we have only one, and there is no external clock input. But what's probably most interesting about these two switch versions is that if you stack them, you can use optical connection to bridge one to the other. That way you can use N18 as the input switch, then optical connection to N18 Pro, and then Ethernet outputs on Pro version. And that kind of connection supposedly gives the best results. But I haven't tested it, and I only have N18 Pro here, which I will use as any other switch with Ethernet input and Ethernet output. Build of this device is nice, as you would expect from Gustard. The chassis is quite weighty and made out of aluminum. In the front, there are no buttons or anything. It just says Gustard here, model in the bottom right corner, and there is a blue LED lighting the Gustard logo once you turn it on, nothing else. I already showed you the connections in the back, and the only thing to complain about, in my opinion here, is that these back edges of the device are slightly sharp, and you can maybe hear that. And it's not a big deal, really. It doesn't impede on usability of this device in any way, but I'm just wondering if it looks so nice and it feels so nice and expensive, why weren't these edges brushed off a little bit? It would feel better and more premium. But build and connectivity aside, should you even consider using an audiophile switch like this one in your system? It's kinda tricky talking about the sound of the network switch, or its influence on the sound of your system, to be more precise. To start describing what can you expect from Gustard here, I'll suppose that you are currently using your digital setup connected to your network without any sort of audiophile switch or isolation, etc. So you're just using Ethernet cable to connect your normal general purpose router to your digital streamer, streaming DAC or streaming amplifier. And here's the thing, if we are talking about beginners setup, or even decent mid-range setup, I think that switch is not something that you should truly consider. For example, let's say that you're using a very nice 500 to let's say $1,000 US streaming DAC. For example, if you're using Audalytic coming from Gustard itself, a H90 streamer and a DAC, it's a very nice device at $650 US, I believe, or 5 something, I forgot the exact price. Or Matrix Audio Mini i4, another quite nice device. Adding a network switch in front of these two devices would yield some benefits. But saving this money and upgrading to something like Gustard A26 would give even more benefits. even better sound all around. So in my opinion, the network audiophile switch is something to consider when you already have the rest of your system high enough that you don't think you will be upgrading anytime soon. And when these $500 cannot buy you a higher tier DAC, a higher tier amp, or higher tier speakers. Because if they can, investing in those main components will bring more noticeable, bigger differences. But if your system is at that level where upgrading main components would cost you thousands and you still don't have a network switch, then I think investing in something like this is a good idea. And what it will bring to your system is more clarity. And I'm speaking about clarity in general, not just high frequencies or some particular part of the frequency spectrum. Going from the situation where you are connecting your digital source directly to the general purpose router that your internet provider gave you, from that situation to this one, like inserting a decent audiophile switch, you should, in a good system, immediately notice increased overall clarity. That is also true with Gustard here. Better tone clarity, better defined edges, cleaner, slightly darker background, and just better tone separation. Listen to the music with it for some time and then go back to connecting your digital streamer directly to that general purpose router, and the sound will suddenly feel muddy and hazy in a way that you're probably going to wonder, like, wow, was this truly like my system sounded before I used the switch? Because we easily get used to finer stuff. So there's definitely a benefit of adding a decent network switch to your system. But how does it compare to some other solutions that you may use instead of this Gustard? To find that out, I first compared it to one solution that is not branded audiophile, but I know many audiophiles use it. That's using like this cheap D-Link switch, which is powered by 5 volts. And the trick is that that power supply, instead of using small switching power supply that comes with this switch, that's no better than like any other router or switch that is not audiophile graded. Instead of its own power supply, you use a decent low noise power supply, like hifi, iPowerX, or Elite, or LHY or S-Booster, or anything like that. In my case, I used LHY linear power supply with it, and that is already the upgrade compared to just not using something like this at all. The sound becomes cleaner, and the notes are separated better, and the whole sound is just cleaner altogether. But comparing that solution with Gustard here directly, you will notice that Gustard brings even more clarity, even more micro detailing from recording, and subtle tiny details to be heard. One of these details is like tone decay in time. Things like tone texture or small breaths, that really low breathing noise of a singer behind the microphone, that will be revealed more readily and more easily with Gustard here than with this D-Link plus linear power supply solution. But then I moved to my next comparison with LHY SW-8 switch. This is the one that I reviewed some time ago, and I kept using it in my system. This switch, also like any other good switch that I've mentioned in this video, will bring better detail retrieval and better clarity. But the thing with this switch is that it has a sort of calm and relaxed presentation to it. And when compared directly to Gustard and its own influence in the system, LHY here does not sound as crisp and as clear, but it does sound softer and kinda calmer. It's a safer option. I think that LHY will influence the tonality of the rest of your system less than Gustard here will. So if you already fine-tuned your system to sound the way that you want it to sound, to have the balance of warmth and speed and clarity that you really like, LHY here will slightly improve the resolution and detail retrieval, but it will not influence that tonality much. Gustard, on the other hand, will improve that sensation of clarity and crispiness even more, but it will sound leaner and a little bit more aggressive in the process. And once again, I know that talking about the sound signature and the tonality of different network switches is like a voodoo magic, snake oil, or simply delusion for many viewers. I'm still doing it. I don't care. I don't need 1 million subscribers. I'm just saying what I'm hearing and not what I know that many would like to hear from me. And if you're still here with me in this video, I suppose it's safe to add a little bit more of black hole material. In the end, I tried circling different cables and even fuses in this switch, and I found out something interesting. The factory supplied ceramic nickel-plated fuse in this switch does add to that feeling of being slightly sharp and forward and a little bit analytical. And if you change that one for also ceramic fuse, for some reason ceramic fuses sound better most of the times and in most devices than glass fuses. So if you change it for a ceramic fuse with gold-plated caps, that will mellow the tonality of this Gustard a little bit. And I'm still talking about like 10, 20 cents or pennies fuse, just a normal, regular, general purpose fuse, ceramic that is gold plated, instead of this factory supplied Gustard one. And I really don't want to talk much about that fine-tuning stuff, but in this case specifically, it did help me to go from, yeah, this is one good but slightly analytical and sharper sounding switch, to simply, yes, this is a very good switch that I can keep using in my system and that I will keep enjoying. And the fight with LHY was so close that if I didn't experiment a little bit with different cables and fuses, I would probably keep using LHY. But with that bit of fine-tuning, in the end, I found some common ground between its clarity and its kinda analytical nature, and nice decent tonality that suits my own system. And as I said, I've been using it for several weeks now, and I quite like it. And that would be all for today, guys. I hope you like this video and that I didn't ruin anyone's day by simply mentioning an audiophile switch. See you next time. Bye.